Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and I have something for you today. Actually, more than a little something, but let's get right to brass tacks with the plugin for this week. Here I have another one of my Dither plugins, Spatialize, and this is present in DitherBox and was what I had as a best dither before I got around to doing first Naturalize, and then not just another dither, which is an extension off of Naturalize, and then after that, Dark, which is different from... So this is a couple of steps back, and I can show you what that sounds like by... I've got a couple of different things here. I've got TPDF to demonstrate the difference between them. So here's TPDF, and I'll turn the DRes up now. So as you can see, you get a noise floor, and that is the noise floor of the dither. If you didn't have this going on, what you would have is a horrible noisy scrunch of raw truncation. By contrast, here is SpatializeDither. Turn it on. You might have noticed there was something going on there. Here, let me show you some more. Spatialize is a little bit different from any of the preceding dithers or something like TPDF. As you can hear, it's doing a fairly decent job of being a compressor. This is not nearly as gnarly sounding as raw truncation, but you'll notice it's neither going into full noise or gating out. By contrast, so the same volume. So this is a weird one. You can use the DRes as a special effect if you want, although I think I suggested you might be cautious of this because it's going to hang on to anything in the noise floor forever. So you might not want to have that sitting in your noise floor. I think that's something like... Dark, or newer versions of Not Just Another Dither, is better as far as a final dither is concerned, but this acts kind of like a weird special effects thing. Also, I should experiment, and let me move this into this one's place, take this one, and change it to something where I can literally kill the audio completely. Like, I think Purest Gain will do that for me, so let's give it a try. Boop. And now we will test this again. Okay, so if you kill the audio enough, and bear in mind I've got an aux in here, if I mute these reverbs, I bet it's going to do this quicker. Actually, I'm muting something that I'm not supposed to be muting. Hang on. Salt and funny here. Oh wait, no, it's at minus 40. So to this, it cuts to silence. So if I have this going, go to this craziness, and then cut in Pierce gain, basically what's happening is it's going to do its compression thing, but if you get true silence, it will eventually go to noise, which I think is a somewhat quieter noise than you get out of TPDF. So let's experiment with that by, let's see, going back to this. A little bit quieter, maybe. I'll turn them both up all the way. Yeah, maybe a little bit quieter. So, there you have it. Let me go back to my screen. So there you have it. That is SpatializeDither, and it is a release of one of the boutique dithers that I've had. I think I've showed you some of its craziness and the stuff that it can do. It's basically like a sort of New York style compression of a pretty respectable picture of the audio that is compressed up to the noise floor at all times, as long as anything is in the signal path. So that's weird, but it kind of works, and it is there for you to fool with. So that is, I don't think it's going to be replacing dark or not just another dither on your mix bus anytime soon, but it's what I used to run, and now it has the DRes control, and it has the quantizer that lets you pick CD output if you choose to do that. So yeah, see whether you like it. It's there and something that you can use. All of this is supported by Patreon, and that's what's kept me going over the last 3 years or so. Which is not to say that I haven't done stuff in previous years as well. One more thing. Well, I say one more thing. More than one more thing. I'm going to tell you something kind of neat that I've got. Here is my little piece of paper, a little cheat sheet that we can talk about. And the purpose of this is to tell you that I have gone through and replaced all of the old demo plugins from my audio unit years with the final versions. I had the somebody write me going like, oh, I needed to reinstall my stuff, and I used to use Nearspace 2, and I can't get it. Please, I really needed that. That was my favorite thing. I had heard that once too often. It's been a while since that was a really big thing, but it got to the point where I've released pretty much everything as VSTs, and there wasn't really a purpose to keeping the demo versions around. So basically, the simplest way to do it was to take like my little list of the plugins, and now, with a couple of exceptions, I'll talk about those. If you go and download these demo versions of the audio unit plugins before the VST days, instead you get the real one. So Mac users who are able to run audio units, and if I'm not mistaken, they're all 32 and 64-bit. They're like the current ones. They are, you need help to get them to work with Catalina. You need to tell Catalina's gatekeeper to okay them. But these are what were out there all those years before the VST days, before Patreon, before all of that. So I thought I would read through the list of, you can kind of see how amused I am. This is a bit, but it's real. This is real. I'm going to read through a list of what I'm giving you as far as what you can go and download. I suggest you not try to go and download all of those at once. My server will fall over. But if you ever wanted to see what some of these things were like, and you're running a Mac so you can use audio units, pretty much any Mac will do. Like anything back to, Snow Leopard or whatever ought to run these. You can try 3D Clip, 80 Clip 2, 80 Clip 3, 80 Clip 4, 80 Clip 6. I'm missing 5. If somebody has 80 Clip 5 and can send it to me, then I can fill that one in. ADT, ADT2, Air, Allspace, Base Drive, Base Kit, Bit Glitter. Some of these, lots of these, most of these have come out as the final VST version, so it's my most recent version, but like with the 80 clips, there is large numbers of earlier versions, all of which are slightly different. So if ever you were wondering or wanting to compare like which obscure little version of these is going to work better for you. Also, slight variations I will mention as I get through them. So let me see. ADT, ADT2, Air, Allspace, Base Drive, Base Kit, Bit Glitter, Broadcast, Bus Colors, Bus Colors 2, Bus Colors 3, Buttercomp, Cabs, Character, Character, the original Bus Colors, Chrome Oxide, Cajones, Console, Console 2, Console 3, C-Strip, DS, DS2, Desk, Desk 2, Desk 3, Ditherbox, Dub-Sub, Electro Hat, Energy, EQ, ESP, Farspace, Farspace 2, Farspace 3. These have near space included in them. Fathom 5, From Tape, Gatalope, Golem, Hard Vacuum, Ombre, Iron Oxide, Iron Oxide 2, Iron Oxide 3, Iron Oxide 4, Logical, Logical 2, Logical 3, Loud, NC17, Noise, Pafnutty, Peak Limiter, Peak Limiter, Pocket Verbs, Podcast, Pop, Purist Drive, ResiQ, Righteous, Righteous with extra bass. There was a version that came out that had way too much bass fullness, and I corrected it within the matter of hours. But that original version is also available. You can't run both of them at once. You have to pick one or the other. Short Bus, sort of the precursor to Righteous. Single Linden Triode, Soft Gate, Space, Stereo Effects, Tape Delay, 2 Tape, 2 Tape 2, 2 Tape 3, 2 Tape 4, 2 Vinyl, 2 Vinyl 2. 2 Vinyl 2 also has a version with a bass bump, much like the Righteous, that I had to fix, and so you get to have that one. They're the same ID, so you have to pick one or the other. 2 Vinyl 3, Tube Sag. This behind me. Tube Sag, Very Mew, Voice of the Starship, Wider. Now, that's a pretty good list. It's here, you can have all of these plugins up to this point. What's after this point, you ask? You can't have all of them because some of them I didn't have. There have been years where things were really tough, and I haven't always been able to afford things like, backups and stuff. And there were also times that were so rough that I wasn't on top of things as far as backing up and keeping everything together. So specifically around 2015 were tough times. Like, that was the time where my mom was getting cancer and my dad was getting dementia, and I was trying to connect with family, and they've both passed on now, but there were some tough times at times, and I am missing these. Purest Air. I should point out, a lot of these exist in the AU VST form. The new versions are out. The original versions that I put out in around 2015 or so, I don't necessarily have copies of. Missed them somehow. So I don't have the original AU Purest Air, Purest Squish, DS3, Nonlinear Space, Purest Warm, Righteous 2, Righteous 3, Gatalope 2, 80 Clip 5 in specific. I think I have everything up to 80 Clip 6, but I'm missing that one. One Corner Clip, Aura, Compress Saturator, and Star Child. I think other than the Righteous 2 and Righteous 3 and probably DS3, every single one of these exists in VST form. So it's not like you can't... It's not like you can't get them in some form, in the most recent form. But what I'm talking about, what that list was about, is the classic old audio unit versions of these plugins in all the variations that ever existed. I've always kept those around so that I could send people them by email, but that was back in the day when you could send somebody like a zip or a DMG file on, say, Gmail, and they'd let them have it. It's increasingly impossible to do that. So really the easiest way to support legacy customers, people who were around back in the day, is now you just go straight to airwindows.com and download whichever thing it is that you need. That's the idea. So, yeah, one more thing, as I might say. This has been long coming, but as you can see, there's a lot to it, and I'm still working on more stuff. I've recently come up with a upgrade to capacitor, and I'm working on something for the slew plugin. I have an idea that might work, and if this idea works, it'll be a new version of slew. I think I have 2 versions out there now. I'm not sure whether they are both in the VST form, but if this works, I'll have another. And it'll have some things in common with plugins like acceleration. And if it works, there is a new version of channel coming up that will incorporate the things I've learned in recent plugins. So on that note, and I don't need to necessarily tell you, I would like to get back to the music making. As you can see, I'm kind of busy, but I've got a lot of things in mind, and sometimes what I got to do is just fall back into a lower gear and start grinding through stuff to do the things that I need to do in order to get where I need to get. And that is very much today, because that release of the old audio units has been on my agenda for a long time. And back when I had almost everything covered in VST form, because there was a time when I was treating those as buy the demo from me, buy the plugin, and I made a big old discount for them and stuff. And we've gone past that point. All of the stuff that used to be demos is now available as VSTs and modern plugins. But for those who would like to try out the way it was coded back then, like the vintage plugin back in the day, and sometimes there are big changes with those and sometimes not, but you ought to be able to try all the little variations. And so now you can. And again, I made it this far because of, first of all, doing like 10 years of airwindows plugins commercially, and then it's been like 3 years or so of doing airwindows plugins on Patreon. And that's how I do this. And I hope there are many new things for me to do going forwards into the future. Like, I have still not yet mastered making like VCV rack plugins. Somebody is making those, but it's not me, so there's a slight delay, and I can't necessarily just think of something and have it be done. Although if I made a plugin and said, oh, hey, try this one, that might work. And there's somebody making LV2 plugins for Linux. And again, that's not me. I have not figured that one out yet. But the idea is all of this can gradually make its way out into every format and all the things that are needed. And I like that. That's how I'd like things to go. So on that note, I've already mentioned Patreon. Yeah, I mentioned the Patreon and stuff. And that's going fine. So if you don't have enough money to do the Patreon, or if you're like losing your job or some terrible thing like that, because we're all in the middle of coronavirus and everything, then take care of yourself first. Do not look after me first. Take care of yourself first. I really mean it. I'll be fine. I swear I'll be fine. But it's nice when people are like, I'm fine. Here, have money. So that's always cool. And I'll try to do good things with it. And on that note, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. Actually, I might talk to some of you guys on Monday for the Q&A session, because I'll be doing that. On that note, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.